it's kind of hard to tell anybody what to do. But the important part is to remember that you want to boost certain signals and you don't want to boost them too much. As you might see here, they are green, which means it will reduce anything above a certain decibel limiter. And I have a ratio that will mean that it will compress the high band, the middle band and the bass band differently. And you can spend time trying to figure out how you want to do this by your own, but this is something I found works pretty good for me. And as you might see here, it's not put at 100%, and that's also something you can adjust to your liking later on. But yeah, now I think I'm gonna go ahead and do something. So let's see now. Firstly, I usually create my bass track, and I named this bass for some reason. I should probably name it to bass drum, since I want to start with my kick in my track to get the feeling of how I want this work. And now this is going to work out this way. Firstly, I'm going to select a preset that I made with this synth, and it's a preset that I made in order to create fast kick drums. So let's find it. It's in here, production, no it's not there, it's in presets, diversion, and then we'll see if you can find it. Kickmaker. Now what this does is that it will create a pitched, filtered, phase shifted sinus wave. I don't know if you heard it that good now, but it will create a sine wave that will resemble a kick. And I have made some macros binding here in my synth that will allow me to use this XY morph to create something that will resemble a pretty nice start for a kick. Not all people do it this way. Most of the producers just get a preset pack or a sample pack that they are comfortable with, and they'll try to layer different kicks together. But I usually start with using this preset I made to create a kick that I kind of feel in the mood for. I think today is probably a good day to be playing something in the... Yes, G sounds kind of good today. So, as you might see here, not everybody think about that, but when you're creating kicks, it's important to realize that the kick also has a certain frequency range, and it will create subharmonics that will be of a certain note. And now I'm going to start out at the G3 as the start for my kick. And yeah, that's a simple kick operating at 120 BPM. I will increase this to something that will work better with electro, 128 to 130. Okay, that's a good start for getting the track together. Now I'm going to put a loop zone on my MIDI clip here. Oh, and I probably should explain that. If you don't know about it, you can select a certain part of the track and press Ctrl Shift M, and it will create a MIDI clip for you, which you can use to put in MIDI data, and it works both when creating leads, bass, kick drums with this kind of operation that I'm doing. And in order to get this certain MIDI pattern to play over and over, I press Ctrl Shift and go up to this bar up here that will represent the loop zone of this MIDI clip. How do you know that loop mode is activated? Down here you will see a button that says loop, and if that's not pressed in, you will notice that it will just play these two bars up here over and over again and not do anything after the two bars is played. But since I set the loop zones to cover 2 bars, it will repeat this section over and over again. And the same selection bar appears up here. In order to get the kick mode to play over and over again, I can activate this button. It's called the loop switch. This will effectively make sure that what I have selected with this tool here, the selection view, will get played over and over again. So okay, now we set up the basics in order to create a track. This bass drum is quite simple, but it's effective to get the feeling for the track you're about to do. Now, as most people, I'm not going to try to synthesize claps. I might synthesize hi-hats and such because they're easier to create. Creating a good clap with a synth is extremely hard. Snares, yeah, same there, it works, but there are people who have spent much time to try to combine analog recordings with digital and has done a pretty good job at that. One of my favorite producers is Chris Reese, and he has released a sample pack called Samples Helvetic. Nerds something something, I can't really remember what it was. Let's see. Oh, I can't get further than that. Let's see if I can show it in Explorer then. Samples Helvetic Nerds Progressive Anthems is called. So now, if you have a good sample pack that you feel comfortable with, you can try find some sample that you can use. Let's see if I can find something in the one shot. It seems we have kicks, underdrums, low toms, wooden percussion, shots, field shots, noises, wada. It doesn't look like I have any claps here. So let's see if we have something in my other sample pack. It's from, let's see, I don't remember, Thomas Penton. He released a pretty nice sample pack a few years ago that many producers are still using today. So let's see now, we have different claps that hopefully soon will get played. I have these claps on an external hard drive that for some reason fell into the floor, and I had to make amends on it, and it doesn't work as it should after that. In any case, we have different samples here now, and I'm going to remove this audio 2 channel and replace it with pressing Ctrl Shift T. And by pressing Ctrl Shift T, we will get a new MIDI channel. And I'm now going to just drag this clip. No, I'm not. I have to firstly insert the instrument Simpler. Simpler is a form of sampler, but it has, well, limited usage compared to the sampler that follows with Ableton Live Suite. But it will work well with what I'm trying to do here. So let's see now, just move this here. And if you're lazy, you can just copy this with holding or pressing Ctrl and dragging the clip down here. Most claps will operate on the second beat in a 2-bar beat. So we have something simple like this going on. Now, something that everybody should know is the theory about using displacement. And what displacement is that in order to gain a sort of groove in your tracks, you have to move the MIDI clips to be slightly on a different offset than straight on 1.2 or 1.4. This will make your ears spending more time trying to figure out what's going on, and in the end make the result that will make the listener more intrigued with your track and not get bored of it as easy. So now let's see here. Try to right click on the MIDI data session, and you will see here you can choose grid at 8 bars, 4 bars, 16, 32s, whatever. I usually use off here and just try to kind of move them to something that I find appropriate. And if I'm not getting the focus that I want, I'm just using the plus sign on my keyboard in order to zoom in. And a good way to work with this is to use this world view zoom. you can just press down here and you use the left mouse button to zoom in and out, and it will cover the 2-beat loop that I created. It's important that you do not move this too much to the left, because it will sound pretty weird, if you can hear here. This technique is something that most producers use, and I know that deadmau5, for example, uses this extensively when he creates his drum patterns. So let's move this there, and the same thing go on here. Now, in order to get some more intriguing stuff going on here, since this is just a 2-bar loop, and I have selected a 5-bar session that it will loop over, and I want to make this sort of alterations over the 5-bar pattern, I'm going to right-click my selected MIDI bar on the clap track and choose Consolidate. What this will do is that we'll create a loop, but instead of 2 bars, it will cover the entire 5 bars now. For some reason now, it moved up some notes. I have no clue why it did it. That's kind of spooky. The other thing that we need to notice is that when you put in the sample into Simpler, the sound which you play out here is operating on the C3 note, which means that if you will increase this to a F note instead, it will get transposed upwards, and Simpler is not the best at handling accurate frequency changes. So I'm going to move this down to C3 again, which will mean it will play it up at the original sample rate in which it was recorded. Now this loop is done, well, for the moment at any case. I'm going to slightly adjust each of these notes, so displacement changes over the duration of the entire 5 bars. The other thing you need, oh crap, I actually had all notes selected. That was not my intention. The important part to remember is that you do not need to change it that much. You can actually put some of the notes directly on the 3/4. What's important is that you get some alterations over the duration of the 5 bars. And many producers say that you will try to change something each 8 bars, but well, that's up to person. The important part is to keep the listener intrigued. What more is there? Except for displacement, which I did just now, you can go into the clap Simpler, and as you might see here, sustain is automatically maxed out. And what sustain does is that if you press a key here, it will play the entire sample duration no matter what you're trying to do. And if you pull this back all the way and decrease decay, it will instead play a short burst of the sample rather than an entire sample. The decay is pretty much, it will start to play the sample directly, but it will then die out pretty soon without any release. Anyhow, the reason why I'm talking about this is that if you try to change the MIDI note to play just this, now let's see if I can come there. You will hear it will get cut off, and at some scenarios that might be something you want, because it will allow you to make a certain different approach to just getting the displacement. It will also make change in time of the sample being played up, and not always is this something you should use, but I do use it at occasions, especially if I'm trying to layer certain claps together, which I'm going to demonstrate now. We have this clap here, and well, it's not a too bad sounding, shabby sounding clap, but I want it to get more unique. So what I'm going to do here is to select the Simpler and going right clicking on the topic up here where it says the clap 012. Press group and expand the chain list. And what the chain list will allow me to do is